Greetings from Cam. Oh, perfect. Okay. So I am Suraj Shah, the Director of International Recruitment here at Thompson Rivers University. We're based in Kamloops, British Columbia. And for the next 30 minutes, I request your attention. We'll be talking a little bit about Canada, about British Columbia, about this university, our programs that we have at TRU, about immigration opportunities. And then I'm happy to answer all your questions with regards to the typical international student inquiries, questions, programs. I can also speak to Canada and all the changes that are happening at our end. So maybe I'm actually going to start with that. I'm going to open a little bit with talking about the Canadian education landscape. Many of you may have heard that Canada is closed or Canada is not open anymore to international students, or there's too many international students in Canada. Part of it is true, but part of it is also incorrect because it really depends on where in Canada, the student is choosing to go and what type of institution. So if student is going to what's called a public university, the student is a lot more safe, with the right type of institution. If a student is going to, a different type of an institution, which is not really built for education. It's like a diploma mill, there's all sorts of institutions. That's when there are challenges. So the government is really just trying to make changes in our education system, as well as with the type of international students that come in by regulating institutions. Many of you may have experience working with Australia before. Canada has been very different. We never saw this many international students in the past, but now we're seeing that, and obviously, therefore, things have to change. But I'm happy to confirm that there are, plenty of opportunities for international students in Canada, in British Columbia. Where we're based in BC, there's a lot of labor market shortage areas, and typically students from Southeast Asia do really very well on our campus as well as in our province. So, considering that most of you are from Indonesia and some from the Philippines, with Indonesian students who are serious about going to university, be it a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, we still see students are genuinely interested in studying and doing really well. So really good university market. And then for Filipinos, sometimes Philippine students were very driven for colleges back in the day. So that's changing as well with, public universities becoming more and more popular for Philippine students. So I'll talk a little bit about, the location and the university. But before that, some context to who I am. So I studied at TRU as well, but about 11 years ago. So it's been a while since I've graduated, but I am a TRU alumni, and I have been with TRU for past 11 years now, working in the international marketing and recruitment team in various positions. So we'll talk about British Columbia. British Columbia is the westernmost province of the country. We say the West Coast is the best coast because it's nice and warm and beautiful with mountains, rivers, valleys, and lakes. Stunning natural beauty, lots of good job opportunities. Vancouver is the second largest city in Canada. That is also the largest city in British Columbia. BC is top ranked province for quality of life, and it's very diverse. Even our community of Kamloops, which is a medium-sized city, is very, very diverse. So that's one of the best parts of being in BC. We have a great healthcare system, mild climate year round. So many of you may have heard, oh, Canada's so cold or Canada's freezing. Yes, we do enjoy our winters here, but for the most part, all year round, it's actually quite mild, especially in British Columbia. So that's why a lot of students choose BC is because it's not as cold as the rest of the country. Lots of outdoor activities. Students can really enjoy their time in British Columbia and do more than just, study. So there's that aspect as well. And safety is key in BC. In most of our communities, students find it really safe, really welcoming, and very friendly. And, true to its stereotype, we see that Kamloops and BC people are very welcoming and still very accommodating of international students. So there's definitely a lot of advantages of choosing a place like Kamloops. So Kamloops, like I said, is a medium-sized city. We have about 100,000 people that live in Kamloops. The good thing is we're 3.5 hours from Vancouver. So whenever a student wants to get, a little bit of an urban life, they can just go to Vancouver for the weekend. We see that happen quite often. But we're also fairly close to Calgary, to Seattle in the US, to Edmonton and Victoria. So there are flights of course, like Kamloops has an airport, but also there are buses, there's highways, there's various ways to travel. Um, in BC, we will have more than 1 million job openings within the next 10 years. And this is a very important statistic. What that means is that there are lots of opportunities for international students coming to Canada in terms of jobs, settlement, stay back options, and so on. So let's talk a little bit about Kamloops. Like I said, it's a beautiful community of 100,000 people, lots of outdoor activities. Students really enjoy their time while they're in school, as well as, just find it calm and quiet. We're not a big city, so we're nothing like Jakarta, but we are very much like a medium-sized city where students still have access to everything, all the modern amenities and facilities, but in a more relaxed environment. So we enjoy the full 4 seasons. Like I said, our winters can be -5 to +5 degrees Celsius. Right now, I believe it's about 0 or -1. But for the most part, it's fairly mild. And then our fall and spring is really nice, between 10 and 20 degrees Celsius. We enjoy a really nice summer, so really, really hot summer of about 30 degrees Celsius, but it's hot and dry, unlike Southeast Asia where it's very humid. So we don't see that type of humidity. And then in Kamloops itself, we have lots of job opportunities, lots of industries, from tourism and technology to logistics, manufacturing, agriculture. So here you can see some of the major Kamloops employers as well. So TRU is a public university. We are one of 6 research universities in British Columbia. We have over 3,000 international students and total of 14,000 on-campus students. We have another 20,000 students that study online with us. Our average class sizes are 31 to 35 and over 109 countries represented in our international student body. So what that really means is, it's a very diverse community, students from all over the world, very international, but still enough Canadians. So there's like that full experience that students can have while they are in Kamloops. We have programs starting with certificate level and English upgrading. So a student can come as early as grade 12 and complete grade 12 with us with our UPrep program. We don't need students to go elsewhere to upgrade or to meet our requirements. They can come to TRU and they can upgrade within our system as long as they're 17 years of age. And then we start with certificates and diplomas, going up to bachelor's degrees and master's degrees, as well as post-baccalaureate diplomas. We also have a Juris Doctor degree, so lots of different types of programs at TRU. And now these program levels are spread between various faculties. We have the School of Business and Economics, we have the Faculty of Arts, the Faculty of Tourism, Culinary Arts. We have sciences. STEM is really, really important for us. So we have computing science and software engineering. So we'll talk about all of that shortly. With the Faculty of Law, the School of Nursing, School of Education. So a lot of different faculties within our university. And the most important piece is that our programs are eligible for the postgraduate work permit. So most of our programs, except for our certificates, all our programs offer students the 3-year postgraduate work permit, which means when they graduate, they can stay back in the country for up to 3 years without an employer, right? So that's very important. And our programs are also very applied and skill-based. So even though we are a research university, many of our programs are very hands-on, very practical, and they still have research components if the student wants to make it academic and research oriented. So let's start with the master's degree and we'll work our way down. So at the master's level, we have various master's programs starting with MBA, which is our most popular program. We have the Master of Arts in Human Rights, Master of Education, Master of Software Engineering, Data Science, Environmental Economics, Environmental Science, and so on. So lots of different programs at the master's level. Most of these programs are 2 years in length. Some of these programs are 1 year in length, but all of these programs still offer the 3 year postgraduate work permit. Our master's programs require GPA of 3 out of 4 in the last 2 years of the student's bachelor's degree. And English requirements can be sometimes a little bit high. So in most cases, it's IELTS of 6.5. But for the MBA and the Master of Environmental Economics, it's IELTS of 7 with no section below 6.5. So students from Indonesia are required to take the IELTS test. Students from the Philippines are exempt from the English language requirements as long as they have a medium of instruction certificate. Okay, so that's a quick overview of the master's degrees at TRU. A lot of these master's programs also have co-op or internships, so students get the opportunity to work as a part of the program. We'll talk about tuition fees after we go over all the program levels. So let's talk about bachelor's degrees. So these are the non-STEM bachelor degrees, starting with the Bachelor of Tourism Management, which is now a 25-year-old program. It is one of the oldest tourism programs in Canada. It is absolutely fantastic. We have a very high employment rate for our graduates because, like I said, BC is a tourism hub. So there's a lot of jobs in that area. And students get to major between four options in their last year. At the education and social work level, we have the Bachelor of Education Elementary and the Secondary STEM program. So if students want to become teachers, we have a program for that. Student wants to become a social worker, we have a program for that as well. Of course, one of the most popular programs is the BBA. The BBA is also a 4 year degree program with the first 2 years in foundation, third and fourth year in a major, as well as a minor, and includes 16 months of co-op. Most of our bachelor's degree include 16 months of co-op. It's not mandatory, it's optional, but I highly recommend it. It is mandatory for some programs like the tourism program and the engineering programs. Co-op is mandatory. So let's move on to the next one here, which is the Bachelor of Arts. So psychology, sociology, history, political studies, applied creative arts. We see lots of students go take the Bachelor of Arts for these majors. And then we have the Bachelor of Communication and Digital Journalism, which is a fantastic program for students who want to work in social media, public relations. They want to work in media buying, advertising, lots of different areas that they can work in. And these are very popular programs because they have very high employment rates. Now let's talk about our STEM programs, which are very popular as well. So we have the Bachelor of Computing Science, Software Engineering, Computer Engineering. All of these programs, these three programs have AI as a component of their programs, as well as actuarial sciences. These programs are very focused on the hardware and the software elements of computer and technology. Then we have the engineering transfer program. So this might be really popular in for Indonesia especially. So students who want to eventually go to UBC or SFU, they can start with TRU's engineering transfer program, which means if they didn't get into, let's say, a mechanical, civil, so we don't have other types of engineering. We only have the computer and the software engineering. But if they want to go into any other type of engineering and they're not making the cut for UBC, but they still have very high grades, they can come to TRU, meet our grade requirement, and then have a guaranteed transfer to UBC in the second year. Our requirements as well are A's across the board, which means the student needs to be academically really gifted to get into this program. Then we have the Bachelor of Natural Resource Sciences, which prepares students for jobs in mining, sustainability, agriculture, lots of different areas. Then the Bachelor of Science, which is very popular on its own, with majors in biology, mathematics, data science, which is very popular area as well. And then for the health science, we have the Bachelor of Nursing as well as the pre-medicine. So if a student wants to become a doctor, they can take the pre-med with us. It is a long journey to become a doctor. It's not straightforward. It takes a long time, but we can definitely um, um, I can share more information if you have a student interested in the medicine programs. Post-baccalaureate diploma. So these are diplomas after a bachelor's degree, but not a master's degree yet. So these are diplomas to add kind of that skills to a student's profile. And only three post-bac diplomas at TRU are eligible for the postgraduate work permit. So that's the supply chain management, the mathematics and economics, and the applied data science. Applied data science is the same thing as business analytics. So there's a lot of opportunities in that area as well. I'm gonna have a sip of water if you don't mind. All right, so with our undergraduate program, so that includes the bachelor's degrees, the post-baccalaureate diplomas, our certificates, our diplomas, all of them, the IELTS requirement is 6.5, no section below 6. So now let's talk about the diploma level programs. So we have architecture, computing science, power engineering, great programs in the STEM area for diplomas. We also have early childhood education and human services diploma. I have Indonesian students in both of those programs and Filipino students in all of these programs on your screen. They're doing very, very well on our campus. A lot of these diplomas have very high employment rates, and students are doing very well after graduation. They almost have 100% employment rate. Practical nursing diploma, respiratory therapy diploma, the regenerative agriculture diploma, which is a one of its kind program. Students don't pay anything for housing. They actually live on a ranch and they're learning how to farm using robotics. So it's not like manual farming, it's using technology. And then we have a wildfire studies diploma, which is also a fantastic program. You may not have heard of this, but in North America, we have huge wildfires in the summer, especially on the West Coast, going from California all the way up to British Columbia. So because of that, we are funded by the government of BC to do research and almost consultation work in the wildfire sciences area to support from, like I said, from California and Washington State, British Columbia, the entire region. And various certificates as well. But I don't really want to promote the certificates in Southeast Asia only because we have diploma versions for many of these programs, and I think those are more in alignment with what students truly need. But we do have one-year certificates in healthcare, in regenerative agriculture. The healthcare assistant one is definitely a good one in the Philippines as well. So one-year program, students get a one-year postgraduate work permit, and when they graduate, there's a job waiting for them on the other side for sure. And then we also have trades programs at TRU, so from carpentry to welding, but I know that that's not a popular area of studies in your regions. Okay, so we will now move on from academic content into the university and what students can experience on our campus. So, like I said, TRU is a very diverse student body um, in all ways, right? You talk about the gender diversity, you talk about age diversity. So, for our masters, we have students starting at 25, 23-year-old, and then also 52-year-old in the same classroom sometimes. For bachelor's degrees, of course, we have high school graduates. So you're looking at students of all ages, all races, and many, many, many nationalities on our campus. Students really get to experience the Canadian university or North American university life, primarily because of all the research, the co-op, the internships, the study abroad, all those opportunities that they have along the way. And many of these opportunities are completely funded, which is fantastic. Some of them are paid opportunities. Some of them are funded by the students' union. So there's lots of opportunities that students can have along the way as they go. Students are also highly encouraged to work part-time as, to gain some Canadian experience. But what's most important is getting involved and, making friends on campus. So we support students with various programs for that. But I'll first talk about co-op because that's the most important piece that prepares students for a job when they graduate. All our undergraduate programs have co-op, up to 16 months of co-op. Students get to work with big companies, small companies, public companies, universities, cities, governments, banks, and they work depending on the area of studies. They will find a co-op position. We will help them with the co-op process. And students make really good money. The software engineering students probably make the highest at about $40 an hour. I wish I took software engineering, but here I am, a business graduate, making $24 an hour as a co-op student if I was, well, I did take co-op. I took co-op in the same team that I'm now the director of, which is actually very common. So students who usually take a co-op with a company, when they graduate, they usually go back to the same employer because the employer is already familiar with them. They've already made that connection. And, employers are very sure of rehiring a co-op student unless the student was bad. So we try to coach the student in making sure that they're doing really well in their co-op. And then working in Canada. So, like I said, students can work part-time as a part of their studies. Then they can take their co-op, up to 16 months of co-op. Students get to stay back for up to 3 years and work, then either go back to their home country or they can apply for permanent residence. So let's talk about PR, right? There are various PR pathways. Canadian Experience Class, we have the BC Provincial Nominee Program. Every province in Canada has its own PNP program. We have the Rural Community Immigration Pilot and other federal programs and special streams. The advantage of coming to a place like TRU and Kamloops is that students get 30 extra points towards their PNP because they're studying at a community that's not in the uh, Vancouver area, so they get extra points, as well as if they live in Kamloops, they get extra points as well. So definitely an attractive point for those who are interested in immigration. Canadian Experience Class, because our employment rates are very high, we see a lot of students opt for that path as well. And then the Rural Community Immigration Pilot Program. So the closest community to us, because we're not rural, right? We're still a city. Vernon is the closest rural area where students can apply for RCIP. So this is almost an expedited immigration pathway as well. There are some terms and conditions, but again, at TRU, we have the supports for students who are interested in applying for PR. We'll give them all the guidance while they're a student, or even once they graduate, they're welcome to come and get the support they need. But students go everywhere after graduation. They don't necessarily stay in Kamloops. We have students all the way from Toronto and Ottawa and Halifax to Saskatchewan, Calgary, and Vancouver. So students go everywhere. We have students who obviously go back to their home countries. Students go to the US, which is also common. But most students like to stay in Canada. Most students like to stay in BC only because of how beautiful and warm BC is. And our data suggests that over 70% of our international students stay in BC and 30% are in other parts of the country. So in terms of campus life, we already talked a little bit about how students can get involved outside the classroom, but now I want to talk about the amenities and the facilities that we have for students on our campus. As you can see, you will always see deer on TRE's campus. They're all around. They're like, strays, but they're in the wild. It's just very common for us to see deer. That's our campus right here on the screen. You can see how large it is. This image is also now 11 years old, so it has definitely changed a lot since. But this gives you a good understanding of what to expect. The campus is right in the heart of the city, so we're not, thrown away from the city center. Downtown is only a 20-minute bus ride. Walmart, Costco, Tim Hortons, Domino's, everything is like in walking distance from wherever you are on campus. Sorry, of course, we have a Tim Hortons on campus, we have Starbucks, we have Subway, we have all the restaurants and cafes. And then we also have student operated cafes. We have housing options on our campus. We have four housing options starting at $550 a month Canadian, going up to $1,250 a month, which also makes us one of the most affordable housing options in the country. And then in terms of facilities, as you can see, we have a tournament-sized swimming pool, which is fully accessible for international students for free. They don't pay anything extra. 24/7 study spaces, a very modern, beautiful library, indoor sports facilities, huge sports tournament center. We are the tournament capital of the country. So NBA athletes also come to Kamloops to train. We have a FIFA certified field for soccer, as well as a student-operated cafeteria. So we, because Kamloops, the way we're located and the communities we serve are very sports and outdoors oriented, we do have a lot of facilities around that for our community as well. And we have our own varsity athletics team called the TRU Wolfpack, basketball, rugby, soccer, baseball, volleyball, all these different sports. So if a student is able to make it into any of these teams, they do get scholarships and they're able to compete internationally and nationally for TRU. We have a program called LEAP, which is very successful for international students who want to make new friends. So every Saturday, we take international students to different trips. Could be rock climbing, could be a day trip to Vancouver, could be going to a kangaroo farm. Yes, we have kangaroos in some places in Canada. So these are actually like pet kangaroos and farms. But anyway, all those type of opportunities for students to just go out on a Saturday with strangers on a bus and then they come back with friends. So it's, we know many international students can be lonely, especially at the beginning. So we want to help them feel as comfortable as possible, make as many friends as they can. And then we celebrate the 109 cultures that we have on campus right now. They will all be invited to perform, show their culture at I-Days, which happens in March every year, where international students from all over the world will represent their cultures. We will have Indigenous Canadian culture represented as well. And this event is organized by the International Office as well as by the tourism faculty. So over 5,000 people participate at this event. It's pretty large. There's an 8 hour long showcase where students like, I know it's very long, but we have 2,000 to 3,000 people in the audience who come and go. So they really just enjoy the whole showcase event. And then we have various clubs on campus for students to join. This is nothing unusual. Every university has clubs, but I'll say that I made most of my friends through these clubs. And again, great opportunity to show your skills on campus. So finally, I want to talk about why TRU, just to summarize this presentation before we go into the Q&A. We also, sorry, wrong section. Before I go into YTRU, I want to share a little bit about our study permit support. So if you are helping your student with admission to TRU, you can use Border Pass, which is a Canadian immigration law firm, and they will apply for the student study permit on their behalf to IRCC directly. So as a Yes Education agent, you don't have to do that. Border Pass will take care of that piece completely free of charge. This is covered under TRU's partnership with Border Pass. It includes the first time study permit application. It includes any reapplication if the visa was refused, as well as judicial review applications if there was an unfair decision outcome. However, I have to say for Indonesia, our visa success rate is extremely high. Um, for the past 5 years, we've had over 97%. I only know of one student who had a visa refusal from Indonesia in the past 5 years. And that case was very complicated. I remember how layered it was, but most Indonesian students will get a visa. Um, that is not the same for the Philippines. The Philippines, of course, is very different from Indonesia in terms of the visa success rate. But for us, our visa success rate for Philippines is also very high. and the support from Border Pass really takes it to the next level. Um, so yes, why TRU? And this is the most important thing for me. I want all my students to find a job and meet their personal life goals when they graduate. So you can see this screen here right now, you can see all BC institutions, TRU, and then some of the top ranked universities in BC and how we compare with them. We actually have the highest employment rate in British Columbia. Our students make the highest amount of money across institutions in British Columbia. We have the lowest unemployment rate across all institutions in British Columbia. And that means that students, when they come to us, they will be a lot more prepared for the job market in Canada. Students are very successful when they graduate. Finally, I will talk about the tuition fees. So our master's programs start at $36,000 for 2 years total. So that's about 18 or $19,000 per year. Our MBA is definitely the relatively more expensive program at $55,000, 20,000 for the first year, 35,000 for the second year. But we are still one of the most affordable universities in Canada. And for many of you who work with other destinations, you know Canada is already fairly more affordable. And then for undergraduate programs and post-bac diplomas, it's $25,000 per year. That's the standard tuition fee, and this is all in Canadian dollars. So in terms of English requirements, like I said, IELTS of 6.5, no section below 6 for Indonesian students. For Filipino students, they're English exempt as long as they can provide a medium of instruction certificate. And then depending on the program, the academic requirements vary. We have over 140 programs. So I would like to support you case by case. So when you have an application or an interested student, we can discuss the requirements for that program. And then all TRU degree programs and diplomas are also PG. Many diplomas are PGWP eligible. Okay, so with that, I will end my presentation here. Thank you for paying attention and for listening to me. And Susan, I can hand it over back to you.
Thank you, Suraj, for sharing a very important information for us. So I believe we already have questions in the chat box. Yes, you can have your water first. I believe it's been a long time talking. And well, let's see the questions in the chat box for everyone. Feel free to chat it later on. So,
Okay.
hi, good morning. Please inform how about the condition of Canada right now? Is there still some demonstration about international students studied in Canada? Thank you.
Oh, interesting. So that happened a few months ago. That was a very interesting protest in Toronto where a group of people said, oh, we don't want any more international students. It was an anti-immigrant protest. But that group was completely beat by the pro-immigration supporters who showed up at that protest. I think there were like 800 anti-immigration protesters, but there were like 3,000 pro-immigration people that showed up. So anyway, that is not really the case. Of course, there's some resistance across the world right now with immigration. The US, Canada, UK, Australia. It's no place is exempt from this. But the reality is that our community is very welcoming. Our students say that we haven't heard of any students having a bad experience. So Canada still remains open, British Columbia remains open, and especially a community like Kamloops is a safe, friendly place for international students.
Thank you. And it's
Yeah.
actually located in Toronto. So, do you happen to notice any protests in British Columbia?
No.
No? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the next one is there any scholarship for bachelor and master?
Yeah, so we do have some scholarships. For bachelor's degrees, we have entrance scholarship of up to $5,000, depending on the student's course. For master's, it really depends on the program. Because we're already quite subsidized and very affordable, we are unable to do a lot of scholarships, but we try our best to find scholarships even for master's level. But for bachelor's, we can definitely consider scholarships of up to 5,000.
Okay, is that academic merit base, or they don't need to submit any personal statement or something?
There are various scholarships. Let me just share my screen again to show you. Just give me a moment. Okay, so we have athletic scholarships, like I mentioned, engineering scholarships. We have diversity scholarships, which means countries that are underrepresented on our campus. We have the Academic Excellence Award, so that's a merit-based scholarship. Exceptional Student Award, which is also a merit-based scholarship. So most of these scholarships are now up to 5,000, not 4,000. But most Indonesian students definitely have access to the entrance scholarship of up to $5,000, especially because of our partnership with Yes Education. We don't really partner with many agents in many countries. Our partnerships are quite limited. So one of our commitments is to provide that that support to Yes Education and all your sub agents. So that is definitely something we can do for you guys.
Yeah, so again, it's a special promotion for us. So if you submit your application through Yes Education, whether you are from Indonesian or Philippines, yeah, we will give you like the first update for the scholarship for your students. And what about the application fee? Can you like briefly update for agents the application fees? Yeah.
Yeah, so the application fee is 100 Canadian dollars, but right now we're waiving it for all our agents for the month of January and February. So this is the best time to apply because the application fee is finally waived. This is the first time I'm seeing application fee waiver at TRU in all these years. Yeah.
Okay, that will be great. Thank you. So please remember it's until February. Is it correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Until
So
the end of February. Yeah.
until the end of February, the application fee is waived. Okay, the next one is student interested in technology program. How is the potential part-time jobs during his study period in campus?
So there are plenty of part-time jobs. In fact, because of the changes. We've seen some international students not choose Canada right now. Because of that, there's an even larger labor market shortage. So we're seeing a lot of vacancy signs up go back, on outside these restaurants and cafes and so on. When it comes to technology related jobs, that may be a bit challenging, but part-time jobs, as long as the student is open-minded, there's plenty of jobs. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks to secure a part-time job upon arrival. So students should come prepared for at least like, it'll take a month or a month and a half.
Okay, thank you. What about the co-ops? Will the TRU helps them to find a job or the
Yeah,
co-op?
so we have a career education center that will help the student with all of these things, part-time jobs, co-op, jobs after graduation. So, but co-op doesn't kick in until the third year.
Okay. And this one is how much money to be prepared in the procedure for processing student visa? Mhm.
So in order to get the final letter of acceptance from TRU, our deposit requirement is 5,000 Canadian dollars. But I'm understanding that this question might be to show how much money does IRCC want to see?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's a good question. IRCC is very clear about the proof of funds requirement. And I can show you if you just give me 1 second. So this is the IRCC website that talks about exactly how much money they want to see for international study students applying for a study permit. Excuse me. So students, if it's just the one student, then they want you to be able to show $22,000 in the bank account, $22,895, excluding tuition and transportation cost. This is purely cost of living, right? So it's 22,000, about 23,000 Canadian dollars in cost of living. And then I can show you the proof of funds. You can see the proof of financial support. So there are various ways that students can show that they meet the proof of funds requirement. So they can prepay first year of their tuition and they can prepay housing fees. So that's one way of doing that. The other one is to send the money to Canada in the form of a guaranteed investment certificate, which they can get back if their visa doesn't come through. Bank statements, of course, for the past 4 months. That's a fair one. Or a letter from the person or the institution who is providing the support. So there are various documents. Students can do a combination of, 2 or 3 documents as well. But like I said, you have access to Border Pass, which is a fantastic, fantastic service. Their visa approval rates are higher than average for us, higher than our, non-Border Pass students. So they're doing pretty well for us. So I would recommend using Border Pass because they will guide the student. The student can meet with them, ask them questions around finances, and so on and so forth. It's a fully tech-based platform, so it's very easy to navigate that. And what I suggest is you don't need to get the student to do work. You can ask the student to create the account on Border Pass, but alternatively, as the agent, you can create an account on Border Pass and you can apply on behalf of the student. I think that would be the best approach.
Okay, so for example, the proof of funds required, excluding the tuition fee, is like 22,000 something, right? And then you can so to apply for a study permit, they need to submit proof that they have paid the first year tuition fee and housing and plus the
Cost of living.
yeah, cost of living shows in a bank statement. Will that one of the example to show it?
So if they're doing the tuition fee and the prepaid housing for the first year, then they don't need to show 24,000, $22,000 because housing is included in that amount. So I would suggest either or. They can either show, I think solid bank statements really do the job, or um, prepay 1 year of tuition and 1 year of housing. That alone is enough. You don't need, you can show maybe 5,000, $10,000 more, but it doesn't have to be the full amount.
Okay, that's great to know.
Yep.
So hopefully that answers the questions. Just let us know if you have follow-up questions for the ones that you asked us in the chat box. Yeah, because lately a lot of people are asking about the our new RICC updates, you know. Is that really
Of
affect
course.
international students?
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. So as everyone knows, students, we now require something called as a PAL, right?
Yes.
Provincial Attestation Letter. And we just got our PAL numbers for 2025. Happy to share that TRU has a good, very healthy number of PALs, so we don't have any concerns when it comes to PALs. Master's degree students anyway don't need PALs, so that works out quite well. Um, but yeah, I mean, when students apply for study permit, they need to provide a PAL, they need to provide their final letter of acceptance. Like I said, TRU requires a $5,000 deposit or the first year tuition fee deposit. If you're showing, an application, you've been admitted to a Canadian public university, showing decent amount of funds that kind of meet the requirements, it's very objective. So as long as, it's students are keeping these things in mind and applying based on the checklist that's already on their website, it's very rare that we see rejections from Indonesia. I see there's a new question in the chat about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
So the question is, does TRU have cybersecurity for masters? So we have a cybersecurity diploma and we have it at the bachelor's level, but at the master's level, we only have the Master of Software Engineering. Cybersecurity is a component of the Master of Software Engineering. We also have the Master of Data Science, but unfortunately, we don't have the cybersecurity masters yet. But there's a reason why we don't have that and why no other BC institution has that. It's because the job market does not require students to have a master's degree in that area to get a job in that area. So in many cases, that's how it works in Canada. And that's how the government will not allow us to create a program just because we want to. It has to align with the job market. So we had that diploma, but a student like that who's interested at the master's level, obviously they have a bachelor degree. So I recommend going into software engineering or go into MBA because MBA they can tailor it to cybersecurity. They can take some courses on the side or they can do some cybersecurity. Cybersecurity professionals can also be very self-learned. So if they're really interested in cybersecurity, they can do it on the side, but MBA might be a better option for a student like that if they're not interested in a software engineering program or data science.
Thank you for answering that question. So I'm just gonna open for 1 or 2 minutes if there is any more
Yes.
question.
And I highly recommend if you have a student that's interested in Canada and you think they would want to consider TRU, please invite us to meet with the student. Let us talk to the student as well. We're more than happy to provide all the data, the stats, and the figures that the students can see when I talk about the employment rate or when I talk about some of these things that I mentioned today in terms of how TRU students are doing, there's actually websites by the government where you can clearly see all this information. When it comes to the job market, employment stats, how TRU alumni is doing, as well as what is the future in that particular area of studies. There's data, there's websites that support all of that. So when we talk to the student, we can counsel the student as well. So, you can join us with the student, with the students and their parents. We're happy to talk to the student and counsel them as well.
Yeah. Thank you for the updates and for you who are based in Jakarta. Just a little spoiler. One of the RU representative gonna come to Jakarta. So just chat me or poke me if you have time or you want to meet with the TRU student or you have potential students regarding this program. Just let us know and I will connect you with the TRU representative in Jakarta. It's gonna be in the 21st of January. Just let me know for you who are based in Jakarta. Hmm.
Yeah.
And then, yeah,
I see
we
one more
I
question.
think this is our final question. Yeah, about
Yes.
engineering transfer program. Well, is it second year transfer to UBC or is it equal to first year in UBC or could you like, is it equal to something like college?
It's not something like a college because students take the first year at TRU and then go directly to the second year at UBC. Alternatively, they can take first and second year at TRU and then take third and fourth year at the University of Victoria. So we have two partnerships, not just UBC, we have UVic as well. So 1+3 with UBC and 2+2 with UVic. This is different from a college pathway system. We have some of those pathway programs as well, but this is very focused on the transfer system. Yeah.
Okay, so
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, I think we answered all the questions.
Yes, I think that's our final questions in the session. So I'm just want to say thank you everyone to join this webinar with Thompson Rivers University, our first Canadian webinar in 2026. And after the session, it is not just limited to this session. Feel free to reach out to any of us in Yes Education, and we will gladly help you and assist you if you have any inquiries. Please remember that the application fee waiver is still available until the end of February, right? Yeah. And yes, we will be like prioritizing your students for the scholarships if you're applying to this education. Okay, so Suraj, you have like a final statement to all of us?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say thank you for joining this session. And for all our viewers, Susan has also visited us. She was on campus last year. So maybe, Susan, you can share your experience as well. If anyone has any questions, I sometimes it's uh, nicer to talk to someone who's been there from Indonesia, right? So yeah, but yeah, feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions at all. And yeah, like Susan mentioned, Zipping Feng, who's our Chief International Enrollment Officer, will be in Jakarta on the 21st. So that would be a great opportunity for you to meet with us as well.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
So I think there's one final question, very final. That's one. Transferring program you to UBC and Victoria, University of Victoria, yes. But what about SFU?
So with SFU, we don't have a guaranteed transfer program, but within BC, all universities have the exact same curriculum. So students can still transfer to SFU. It's just not guaranteed. They have to compete.
Yes. Okay. So thank you very much, everyone, to join this webinar. See you later. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Raj. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Thank you. Take care. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.